Okay. So our NSF grant is actually entitled A Bridge to BioLink's Future, and we've completed a part of that. BioLink was the first national advanced technological education center for biotechnology. It began about 1997 and continued until 2018. And towards the end of BioLink's tenure, some of us were beginning to get a little worried about what was going to happen in the interim between the end of BioLink and the development of it and the emergence of the next Biotechnology National Center. So I wrote a grant together with Linnea and Tom Tubon to try to bridge the gap between the centers. And we accomplished that. We were able to maintain the community, able to maintain newsletters and websites and stuff, and continue it until Innovate Bio. We also, Todd Smith worked with me a lot too on expanding and developing some new features for biotechcareers.org. Biotechcareers.org is a website that was created during BioLink, and Linnea actually helped a lot with making biotechcareers.org. We started it in 2012. It's got a lot of information about careers in the biotech industry. And a lot of the impetus for starting it was that you could go online and you could find out, okay, how would I become a genetic engineer and work at NIH? How would I become a PhD scientist? How would I become a genetic counselor? But jobs that are in biotech, you could not find anything about what those jobs are or what they involved or how you would get to those jobs. So we created this site to describe what the jobs are and to use the biotech language and titles of those jobs to kind of demystify what is process control, what is biomanufacturing. And so that's a lot of what the site does. So it emphasizes entry-level job information, technical careers for our students. And it's used pretty widely. We had almost 500,000 visitors last year. So we're really pretty happy about that. And a lot of schools are using it as part of their curriculum. In fact, I'm going to take you to Biotech-Careers for a moment now, and I'll come back to my slide in just a minute. There we go. Okay, so what does it look like? If I go to Biotech-Careers here, I'm looking at the live site right now. You'll see on the front page, we have links to resources that we've gathered together for students and people who are looking for jobs. We have a fun game so you can learn some of the biotech acronyms like SOP and SIP and GLPs and GMPs and crazy language. We have curricula for teachers. Some of this is created by Baybex. We have some things that teachers can use, slide decks and activities. We have some things for employers. We have at the bottom links to videos and blogs, games, and a sitemap down at the bottom. But I think one of the most exciting things that people have seen this last year that we added is we added a job search. So if you go here and you say search for jobs, you can find out on any given day how many biotech jobs there are around the country, at least that we have in our database. This is not comprehensive. We don't have like every single job posting all over the world, but there's quite a few. And here it will use your location. So you can see here in Seattle, if you look for biotech jobs, today there are 216. If I look across the US and I just have to type US and hit return or click find jobs, I will see that today there's 16,062 biotech jobs across the US. So you can narrow it by where you are. You can also narrow it by using different terms. If I wanted to know how many of those jobs are in biomanufacturing, for example, we have a pre-constructed query here with manufacturing and pharma. 31, those jobs are in biomanufacturing. But that doesn't mean that they don't always describe it quite with all the words. Anyway, biotech is probably the better phrase to use when you're looking. You can also, if you spell it right, there we go. If you go here, you can look at any one of these jobs and click them and you can see, okay, what do those jobs require? For example, here there's a production assistant associate 1 in biotechnology. You can go here and it'll show you that this job pays between 48 to 75,000 a year. It's at one of the Eurofins laboratories. You could see how to apply. You could see usually there's information about what the job requirements are and other things that nature. Okay, so back to what is biotechnology? All right, so those are the jobs, but what is actually what is biotechnology? So I've kind of modified the definition that I found at bio.org. Biotechnology is the use of cellular and biomolecular processes to develop and manufacture technologies and products that help improve our lives and the health of the planet. And we have used these processes for over 6,000 years. So in many ways, biotechnology is not new. But I wanted to stress some of the words here: cellular and biomolecular processes. That is, we use cells, we use RNA, DNA, enzymatic pathways, and we're using it to develop and make things, to make technologies and products. And that, I think, is really important to stress, that biotechnology is not basic research. It isn't going out and collecting and barcoding butterflies or whatever. It is making things and creating things. Biotechnologists are using these biomolecular materials and cells to create tools and products. And I think that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Those tools and products are also highly regulated because a lot of them go into people's bodies, a lot of them are consumed by people. And so that's why we have a lot of things we have to keep in mind, like good manufacturing practices, good laboratory practices, and the EPA and the like. So back to what do people do in biotechnology? Barbara Yankosa reminded me that there's this really fun paper that came out in 2012 called the Rainbow Code of Biotechnology. I really like this because I think sometimes we hear about what people do in biotechnology and we start to think it's all biomedical. It's all RNA vaccines, or it's all diagnostic tests, or it's all biological drugs like insulin or antibody drugs, because we're kind of fixated on antibodies over here, or CAR T cells. But really, biotechnology is pretty big. Not only does it cover the medical and health areas, there's also biotechnology involved in nutrition areas, like nutraceuticals and fermentation and probiotics and growing insects as food and brewing. And I know John Cumbers will like this, industrial biotechnology, which we also refer to as synthetic biology. You can see there are a lot of things people use biotechnology for. They use microbes to manufacture all different kinds of chemicals, as well as cosmetics, beauty materials, fragrances, fabrics, food additives, fuel, enzymes, materials, laundry soap. We have pets, and so we get this stuff called Nature's Miracle to clean up after our pets sometimes. Nature's Miracle is a biotech product. It has enzymes that digest urea and nasty smelling things that your pets might leave on the floor. You don't always think about that being biotech, do you? But yet it is. There are people making tennis shoes from biotech products and sporting goods and sweeteners and vitamins. So it's bigger than you think. In agriculture, we have sensors and pest-resistant crops and tests for genotyping plants and plant tissue culture, by the way. All kinds of plants are actually grown through tissue culture or propagated through tissue culture. That is a technology developed through biotech. There's also desert biotechnology. There's this living concrete that people are working on that is made from a bacillus kind of secretion. It's pretty neat. And marine algae and gels. And then, of course, all the legal patent and ethics and stuff. Okay, and this reminds me now. So how does this show up on our site? I'll go back to the site for just 1 minute. And I'll show you what we can see here. So at Biotech-Careers, how do we handle all that stuff? We take a pretty broad view of biotechnology because we're really kind of interested in any kind of biotech employers. If I go back to the home page, I can get to, I can scroll down to see a whole list of business areas that people use to describe the different areas of biotechnology. I can also go up here to the companies and see a link to that same list of business areas. You can see we have, in our site here, we have 8,442 employers, biotech employers, and we're always adding more. And these employers are engaged in 558 of those business activities that fall into the biotech rainbow. And if I click this link, I can see a list of them. Each activity here on the left-hand side is linked to companies that use that to describe themselves. And if I were to scroll down, let's look at synthetic biology, because that's kind of fun and mysterious. If I select synthetic biology, what I will see are all the companies that describe themselves as synthetic biology in our database. I have 363 in 456 locations. And I can, I have a whole, I can look at any of these. I could select any of these and get a link to their website if they have a career page and they're looking to hire people like Alpha Bio is. I can click that and go straight to the career page. I can also see a little bit about what they do. I'm going to go back for just a minute. What we've also done with our descriptions is to break them down by the other things companies say they do. So synthetic biology sounds kind of mysterious, right? But if you look at this, you can see that of these 363 synthetic biology employers, 55 of them are working on food, 30 on microbiomes, 24 on therapeutics, 23 on agriculture. So we can kind of drill down a little bit and get an idea what these different companies do. And we could select any of these to see the microbiome companies. We could see that they're working on, harnessing the microbiome for crops, biopharmaceuticals, immunomodulating therapies. So we can kind of learn a little bit more about them. And then I can go back to all the microbiome companies or back to synthetic biology. I should also point out, if I go back to all my terms here, that you can see we have base in here as well, but we don't have all the people who have achieved the base. We have a few that we found and added to this, but there's many, many more. Okay, so that's one way to explore biotechnology and learn about different careers. These are also grouped under job areas. Job areas kind of loosely reflects the biotech rainbow, that we've got agriculture and animal and aquaculture and biomanufacturing, conservation biology. If we look at any one of these areas, what we'll see is that we'll get to see all the information on the site that is related to that topic is kind of grouped together here. So biomanufacturing, for example, we'll see that we have the different kinds of jobs related to it that you can learn about, different articles related to it, profiles of alumni who are working in these areas, and video interviews and videos talking about the topic. So it's kind of a way that we organize information. When students come to the site, they generally start out looking at careers. They can see what kinds of education are needed, what the levels minimum education is needed for any of the different careers. They could go to any one of these cards and they could see kind of average starting salary, what job areas this might be found in. They could click these links. It would take them to Innovate Bio and they would learn which Innovate Bio programs offer education in that area. And they can also see more information about people working in those fields. We have lots of blog articles. We have profiles of alumni, our graduates who've gone on to work in biotech, telling their stories about where they went to school and what they've done, what they've accomplished. Lots of videos, companies, which you can drill down to any state and see what companies are in that state, what the top topics they work on. You can drill down and see where they're located, get links to those companies, and learn more about them. Okay. So now I just want to quickly thank our sponsors, people who've helped us with the site, and thank the National Science Foundation for the original funding and continued funding. And now I'm going to stop sharing and open things up for questions.